All right, gamers, Bungie just dropped Renegade's ability tuning preview article, and I'm kind of shocked. It's a lot of good changes. They literally say in the beginning here that there's not going to really be any nerfs. There's only one in this article. There's separate sandbox changes for PvE and PvP. They're doing good. Now, they're going to be buffing a lot of crazy stuff. We don't know what the artifact is looking like for Renegades. We'll probably find out in the next day or two. So some of these builds could be pretty insane. So let's just go over it real quick. Like I said, we're just going to be skimming over some stuff. I just want to give you my feedback. Got Solar Gunslinger here. Seems like Hunter's going to be really strong for Renegades. So Golden Gun Deadshot and 6-shooter Super. You're going to get increased damage against non-boss combatants by 15%, but then you're going to get increased damage against bosses by 26%. They are going to be buffing Still Hunt, Nighthawk. Golden Gun's going to be cranking some huge damage. Now, Golden Gun projectiles scorch targets. 40 stacks base, and then you can get an additional 10 from increasing stacks with the fragment. Cause more explosions, maybe throw your knives and then hit your super. You could do Yeehaw Cowboy super and just pop off 20-30 shots. Huge change here where everyone was messing this up. A lot of you didn't even know this was a thing. When firing inside of a well of radiance, Golden Gun now counts as radiant for increased damage. Pretty much back in the day when you would pop your Golden Gun in a well, it wouldn't have radiance, you would do lower damage. Well, they fixed that. Blade Barrage super increased damage against combatants by 39%. Again, we used to run cool builds back in the day with Blade Barrage, and they're doing some cool knife buffs with this. So that build could be back with Young Ahamkaras or other exotics to buff your knives, because you're going to get increased damage against red bar enemies by 50%, increased damage against other enemies 36%. And then the lightweight knife, your crit multipliers up. Acrobatic Dodge class ability increases the energy regen rate in PvE by 112%. So they're just trying to encourage you to use it more. And then Gunpowder Gamble getting a huge buff. Shooting the dynamite midair now increases damage by 50% in PvE, 5% in PvP. Gunpowder Gamble is definitely going to be slaying. Now we get to the good part. Night Stalker Hunter. Shadow Shot Deadfall Super. Tether source now attaches to combatants on direct impact. The increased weaken effect, it goes from 30 to 35. This now means that Deadfall Tether is the strongest weaken in the game. But wait, there's going to be more. Now it immediately weakens and suppresses enemies in the area of effect as well. Now, Quiver. Most of you would think, well, Clyde, I don't use Quiver. You might want to start thinking about using this, because when you're in your super, dealing damage now increases the power of the subsequent Shadow Shot attacks and bow weapon. This puts a bar on screen that charges as you deal damage. So when you're shooting your Quiver shots, you're going to build up this bar. When charged all the way, your final shot or final 2 shots with Orpheus Rig deals significantly increased damage, turning into one of the highest damage supers in the game at 227% max. Now, is it going to do better overall damage with Orpheus Rig, or should you put on Star Eaters? We really don't know, but it seems like getting that extra final 2 shots with Orpheus Rig is definitely going to be beneficial. It increases the base super duration from 10 to 16, so you have more time to aim your shots, and then increased Orpheus Rig duration from 16 to 20, which means your anchor will last longer. Really good. Now we get into the smoke bomb changes for PvE and PvP. An increased projectiles lifetime after sticking to a surface from 3 to 9 seconds, so they're going to last longer. It's the lingering smoke time in PvP, so you're not going to get blinded every corner, which is good. Reduce the screen effect intensity and duration while in the enemy smoke. Again, PvP changes, and then reduce the damage against players by 16%. All this stuff is really good for PvP, but be on the lookout for Shadow Shot and Quiver. Might be turning into meta for the dungeon. Moving on to Arc Strider, Storm's Edge Super. Passively energy regeneration increased by 25%, and then Tempest Strike, reduced damage against players in the Crucible by 16%, so that's a dub. Stasis Super on the Revenant. Shatter Dive aspect, shattering stasis crystals or enemies now grants Frost Armor. Now in PvE, if you shatter anything, it's going to grant you full stacks of Frost Armor and 2 stacks in PvP. Could be really good to use again in PvE. Silence and Squall Super, increased damage against combatants by 63%. This super is really good to use against big bosses. We use this super, Inspire the Watcher, to stun lock the Wyvern. So the fact that it can do 63% more damage to combatants, it can definitely be used in more portal activities as well. Don't know if we'll use it against bosses with the other kits, but still, it'll be really good to clean up areas. Strand Red Runner, one of my favorite supers to use on the Hunter right now, especially with grapple. Widow Silk aspect, looking at a grapple tangle for a short time now overrides your grenade ability with a free non-offensive grapple. You know why they did this? Because they didn't want grapple hunters to keep grappling the same thing and destroying the bosses like we did in the past. This allows you to give grapple capabilities to your teammates who don't have Strand or grapple equipped. Also works for the Navigator exotic Trace Rifle. Grapple tangles created near the ground now rise into the air shortly after creation, so hey, maybe we can make 3-4 of these and we can just Spider-Man across the whole map. Grapple Tangle's base lifetime increase from 15 to 20 seconds. Hitting an enemy with a grapple melee that wasn't free now creates a grapple tangle. Silk Strike Super, increased passive energy regeneration by 11% and increased damage resistance while you're in your super. All Hunter subclasses, your Marksman Dodge class ability increases ammo pickups radius from 10 to 15 meters, and your Gambler's Dodge in PvP only, a reduced melee energy gain from 50% to 35. So overall, my thoughts on Hunter, I think it's going to be really good. The solar kit's a little tough to run when prismatic is a thing. You not playing certain activities, like if you're not enjoying the portal or you're just doing the new stuff that's going to be in the game, like the campaign and the new stuff they add or dungeon, you might be able to get away with it running solar because of Nighthawk being so good. So it'll be interesting to try out. Night Stalker, I'm excited. Give hunters a reason to tether again. And then I'm definitely on the lookout for trying out Stasis to see the silence and squall damage. Overall, really good. Moving on to Warlock. Your Dawn Blade. When you're in Daybreak Super, it increases damage against combatants by 20%. Projectiles now scorch enemies by default. Pair this with Dawn Chorus. It's probably going to be disgusting. You'll be able to just explode the whole room. You've seen this build in the past, but it does seem like it's going to be a little stronger. Void Walker, Nova Warp Super. Charging the primary attack now pulls enemies towards the Warlock. That could be pretty sketchy. Increased primary attack damage against combatants by 15%, and Dark Blink now releases weakened seekers. So they're trying to get us to use it in PvE. Nova Bomb Vortex now repeatedly pulls enemies towards it during its lifetime. I think Slova will be better, but good damage test. Now, there is a lot of exotics that are being buffed with Stormcaller. In the article, it said that they were going to buff like 1 or 2 exotics that go with Stormcaller, so this could be good. Storm Trance Super now increased maximum sustained damage bonus from 50 to 65, and increased landfall jolt duration from 10 to 16. Chaos Reach Super increased damage against combatants by 20%. Ionic Sentry no longer blinds the user on creation, and then Lightning Surge in PvP is reduced. That's a dub. Stasis Shadebinder. They want this to do more damage, so the Winter's Wrath Super increased Shatter Wave damage against frozen targets by 210%. I mean, that's a double damage bonus right there. So if someone's freezing a boss, you could go pretty hard on this. I hope it's used in like the really hard end game. But again, if you're just doing portal activities, you throw out a Jerry turret, they're freezing the boss, and you just Harry Potter, go in, abracadabra, could be good. Frost Pulse class ability reduces in PvP, so it doesn't trigger you, so that's good. The Broodweaver Strand member, the Madiodaxia exotic is getting buffed, and it's going to juice the damage on this. This could be one of the best damage supers in the game. But Needlestorm Super, Needles now prioritize bosses, mini bosses, and champions over other enemies. The reason why they did this is because sometimes we were in dungeons and raids and you would chuck your super at the boss and it would miss. So it was very inconsistent to find a good DPS one-off super for the Warlock. So they're fixing this. So again, could be one of the strongest supers in the game. All Warlock subclass changes. Your Healing Rift and Empowering Rift class ability rifts can now be cast while moving. I don't know how that's going to work, but it's going to be interesting to see. Increase rift radius to 5 meters. Empowering Rift is now going to increase melee and grenade recharge rate while standing in your rift. So, we're not really using the rifts. We're still using Phoenix Dive, but they might give us a reason. In PvP, reduce the healing rate by 10%, so people can't just sit in their rifts and trigger you. Overall, for the Warlock, I think that I want to try out Stormcaller, and I want to try out the Stasis Shadebinder and the Strand, just testing how much damage those can actually do in PvE. So I'm all for that. Now, before I read Titan, we already know that Titan's not going to get anything good because they're just busted already. There is some cool stuff. So now with your hammer throw bonk, this is really funny what they said here. While we're happy to see the Titans are enjoying the return of the bonk hammer builds, we also want to incentivize hammer throw skill shots. So the ability now does bonus damage at range. They want us to do just Mario hammer trick shots. I'm all for it. So the impact damage now increases with range. Damage increases purely additive. The base damage is unchanged. So you see a champion from far away, you got your Worm God's proc, chuck that hammer, boom. Or chuck your hammer at bosses while your teammate stands behind you and feeds you more hammers like the old strat we used to do back in the day. Could be really cool. Void Sentinel. Now, they're trying to bring Banner Shield back, Ursa Furiosa. I think what they're trying to do with this explanation here is that they want Titans to try and run this so the Warlocks can stop popping their wells, but we all know the deal. Pop your well, know your role. That's what the Warlock does, right? What are they doing to make it really good? So the Sentinel Shield Super, standing behind the shield, now periodically reloads all weapons every 2.5 seconds. Now, they did put an article up here saying this isn't a full return of the free load days with the old Luna faction protection boots. Instead, it will reload all your allies' weapon every 2.5 seconds. When using low magazine size weapons like rocket launcher, this will require some weapon switching to take advantage of. So again, this could be really good for damage rotations, but you're also taking this Titan out of DPS. Remember that. Now grants avoid overshield to allies behind the shield, so you're going to protect your teammates. This is where it didn't make sense to me. So damage bonus while behind the shield reduced from 40% to 25. This was the highest buff in the game at 40%. It was stronger than well, stronger than everything. But now that they're bringing it back to 25%, it doesn't make it feel like it's rewarding, because you're just like, well, we could just stand in a well and all 3 players damage in the dungeon. Why would you have a Titan pop the banner shield or the sentinel shield and take them out of DPS, you know? So this could be really good in strikes and GMs and conquests and Vanguard alerts. Don't sleep on this, because I used to do carries in GMs and just pop my sentinel every room and my teammates would just destroy it. Blocking attack now extends the super lifetime. Could we try this with Doomfangs? We'll see. Blocking attacks and protecting allies now charges your shield throw damage. So again, it seems like you're going to be blocking, shield throw, blocking, shield. Every time you get your shield, you're going to throw it. So again, they're going to add a little bar on screen that charges as you block attacks, and when your allies are behind your shield, when charged, your shield throw deals more damage and resets the bar. This could be really cool. I'm excited for it. Arc Striker, Fists of Havoc. They want us to use a roaming super more, which is probably not going to happen. Light attacks now increase the next heavy attacks, so maybe 3 lights and a heavy. We'll see. Stasis Behemoth. We all know that Stasis Behemoth is the Avalon killer and one of the strongest builds in the game because of this aspect and the changes. So we thought, oh no, this is the only nerf in the game that's in this article. When used during the super, it increases super energy costs from 5 to 15%. So they just don't want you spamming ice crystals and deleting bosses. But what they didn't put in this article is that this build is still really strong. Howl the Storm. All you got to do is have Worm Gods on, have really high melee, go up, make your crystals, break them with an icebreaker, or break it with a weapon, pick up all your stasis crystals and do it again and again and again and again. You're still going to be destroying everything. So good for them for not touching that. They just didn't want you to pop a super and nuke everything and, you know, insta kill a boss's health bar. We understand. Strand Berserker. This is a PvP only change. You know what? I mean, let's just say it. You know, I was watching Astacross. He was playing PvP. He was rolling around with this aspect on with a glaive, and he was just one-shotting people. Guess he can't use that no more. No, but for real though, I went up against a whole team of these people, and they were demons. They were running around one-shotting the whole team, and I was laughing. But I understand for this change, they don't want you to just one-shot people in PvP. It's Cross's fault though. He probably promoted it. So that's all the Titan changes. Like you said, you probably like Clyde. Wish Titan got more. Look, Titan's already broken. Titan's still one of the best PvE characters. We got so many kits, it's not even funny. But I'm very excited to see the melee solar hammer damage. Void Sentinel, I definitely want to try this out to see if it's worth using. Depending on the artifact, we got to see what we're going to be using next season. But these are general abilities across the board. The suppressor grenades no longer suppress the user. Pretty much this is for PvP, and then increase detonation by 10%. Spike grenades now attaches to combatants. This is going to be really crazy. You can throw one of those at the teammate. What if you attach the spike nade to someone and they run to their teammates and they're trying to hide and they all just die? That could be cool. Void fragments. This is huge for the void subclasses. Reduce the negative stat on Echo of Undermining. This is the one that weakens. From negative 20 grenade to negative 10. Echo Provision now gives you 10 stats. Echo of Exchange now gives you 10 melee. And remove negative stats on all other fragments except Starvation and Persistence. Pretty much what they're trying to do is to get us to use Void stuff more. We know that the Void Hunter is going to be really good. Void Warlock, Controverse Hold, really good. And now the Void Titan. So again, them making sandbox changes with the fragments in your kits too is definitely cool. So again, I give them props for that. Invisibility. We all know that you hate Invis Hunters in the Crucible. So now the updated visuals to slightly be more visible in Crucible. That's a dub. And then Overshields now scales with Overshield remaining health. So really good for PvP. Arc. Lightning grenades now attaches to combatants. Again, this is going to be interesting to see. Flashbang grenades, they no longer blind the user. And then the detonation change by 10%. Strand Threadlings. You guys are probably running Threadling builds on your Warlock. You might see that all your Threadlings will attack an enemy and explode when they could have just tracked the next enemy. So Bungie's fixing that. They won't lose their target before the impact. Will land and look for another combatant instead of exploding. So pretty much your Threadling build is going to be stronger. That's it. A really good article. Again, I know you guys are probably like, well, Clyde, these changes aren't really doing nothing. They're not going to be exciting. You know, I get it. But usually when we see these kind of articles, they're making us mad. You know, you read it and you're like, why are they buffing this? Why are they nerfing this? Why are they changing this? When I read this stuff, I think we're going to be very overtuned. A lot of people say that our abilities in the game are really strong right now. I mean, you can run Getaway Artists and pretty much never shoot your gun, but maybe this is a sign that they're trying to just let people have more fun. They don't want to nerf people's favorite builds. I really don't know an answer here, but this is good. Now, this isn't content. I'm not glazing the game. This isn't content for Renegades, but it's a step. You know, it's gonna give you guys different builds to use. We'll find out all the information on the new content tomorrow in Bungie's stream, and obviously next week when we play on the 2nd. Hopefully some of these changes are what you were looking for. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.